Bennett, and we're continuing with today's Spotlight on the Candidates, and in the second portion of our interviews with the Democratic candidates for Berkeley Heights Council, we have with us Stephen Yellin. Welcome, Stephen. Good to have you here.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So for the voters, we're going to ask you a few questions to let them become familiar with you and your positions, a little bit about how you got into local politics and what you hope to accomplish. And in the interest of just giving people a feel for who you are, Stephen, why don't you just give us a brief biographical sketch of you?
Well, sure, Bill. I've been a lifelong resident of Berkeley Heights. I've graduated from Mountain Park Elementary School, Columbia Middle School, Governor Livingston High School. By college education, I have a BA in history from Drew University, where I graduated summa cum laude. I'm currently earning a master's in public policy from the Blaustein School at Rutgers University, which is one of the top 5 schools for public policy in the whole country. My experience with Berkeley Heights also has been politically in terms of government activism here in town. I've been a Democratic county committeeman. I have worked for campaigns here in Berkeley Heights from the age of 15 onward. And I've been an active participant in town council meetings, going to several dozen meetings over the last few years, learning more about our government, learning about the issues that matter here, and seeing what I can do to make a difference on the local level.
Great. Well, I think you've given me a platform for maybe my next question, which is, given that you were active as early as the age of 15, tell us and tell the voters, what was it that drew you into public policy, local politics? What was it that brought you in, and specifically then, of course, what was it that had you decide to run for council?
Sure. I've always had a deep desire to make a positive difference in public life. My grandfather was a labor organizer. My mother was always active in our community as a substitute teacher, as a librarian, still is. And I have always learned from them the importance of trying to give back to your community, to give back to society. I've been very fortunate in life to grow up in Berkeley Heights with its excellent school system and in the vibrant community that we have. So with my interest in politics and government, it felt natural for me to want to go study public policy, to be able to see how government works, how it doesn't work, and what can be done to make government work, particularly on the local level, with all the challenges we face here in New Jersey on the local level. My interest here in Berkeley Heights, as I said, I've been involved in campaigns and watching town council meetings for the last few years, and I felt that now that I've graduated from college, that now was the right time for me to make a positive difference as best I could for the people of Berkeley Heights. And so that is what motivated me to run, and I've been enjoying the campaign up till now.
Any surprises in the campaign for you, positive or negative, just in terms of the dynamics of it?
Well, sure. There's obviously, for me, the most positive experience has been meeting voters. I came in with the thinking that, well, maybe people will think because I'm young, because I don't have, a banking background or a finance background or a legal background, that they might be more hesitant to support me. But I found that when you talk to people about what you stand for and what you're trying to do if elected, that voters are equally receptive to me as they would be to the other candidates. I think voters in our town are very intelligent. I know that they tend to look at candidates critically and with an eye to what kind of contributions they can make for Berkeley Heights. And I think so far it's been a pleasant experience to know that voters are open to a new perspective and to new ideas for the residents of Berkeley Heights. And that's precisely the type of message that I'm trying to get across.
Great. Anything about it that's harder than you thought it was going to be?
I will say that when you are going door to door, and I, up and down, there's a lot of hills, obviously, in Berkeley Heights, and you tend to wear out your shoes faster than you normally might expect. I will say, though, that there's a lot of sweat and hard work that goes into it, but on the whole, I think my experiences have been very positive.
Great. Well, that's good to hear, because I think those of us who are citizens and voters, but not political candidates, really appreciate the energy and the effort that candidates such as yourself put forward. And we may not always show that, but I do think most people are appreciative of the fact that somebody is really working hard to make the township, to make Berkeley Heights work for everyone in it. So with that as kind of the continuing platform for our discussion here, let's get into 2010, or 2010 as some people like to call it, and what you think are the key issues and challenges that are facing the voters of Berkeley Heights?
There are three key issues, Bill, that I want to work on if elected. The first, and I think this would be the first for any responsible candidate, is property taxes. Our taxes in Berkeley Heights went up a significant amount, 9% this year, both factors internal and external. A lot of residents feel that the cost of living in Berkeley Heights is such that it's hard to maintain a household here. It'd be hard to stay in Berkeley Heights. I know a number of friends who, like myself, and a lot of our elders in Berkeley Heights who are with their extended families living in town because many of them cannot afford to rent or purchase a house to live here in Berkeley Heights. So the quality of life and the taxation issue is the number one issue, and it should be for the members of the council. The second issue is in regards to the development of our downtown. We have a lot of vacant storefronts. We have businesses that are trying to attract more customers and more business here in Berkeley Heights, but the town government needs to be proactive in reaching out and developing a framework so that we would be able to grow our downtown's economy and be able to provide a increase in revenue for the business owners as well as through commercial property taxes for the town. And the third area is in terms of open government and transparency. A lot of residents have a feeling that our town government does not respond to their concerns, that it doesn't listen, that it, frankly, that council members can often be nasty or can not be particularly caring towards what the residents have to say. And I have a number of proposals in all three areas. That is to say, trying to lessen the property tax burden, improving our downtown, and in providing openness and communication in our town government that I would seek to implement if elected.
Well, let's take those not necessarily in order. Let's talk about downtown.
Sure.
Do you have a model for another town that's, in your eyes, like Berkeley Heights, but seems to have done or be doing a better job than we are? Or is that an area where you feel you need to, once elected, do the research and make a determination? What's your take going in?
Sure. I mean, there is a model for our downtown business district, which there currently isn't a specific district per se, but you have models in Westfield and in Scotch Plains, for example, where they have business improvement districts. And the way it works is that you have a cooperative of sorts between the business owners and residents of the town working together as a board, and you would have a representative from the council there to provide a government interest in the district. And basically it's an idea of figuring out what kind of priorities are needed between business owners as well as the members of the community. What do people want to see? How can the town government best facilitate bringing that in? What kind of concerns need to be addressed? So on and so forth. I would like to see that enacted in Berkeley Heights. There's discussion of it in the master plan that the council has currently introduced, but I would like to see that brought into fruition.
Okay, good. Thank you. So let's go back to your first topic, which is one that, not surprisingly, we hear from many voters and we hear from the candidates as well, which is around taxation, around either sources of revenue or, on the other side, expenditures associated with trying to keep the books balanced and provide the services at the same time. What do you think are some of the key ideas that you bring into that discussion?
Well, there are a couple of different possibilities that we can use to try to lessen the tax burden on the residents. We first have to recognize that with Governor Christie's 2% property tax cap in place, we have to be careful about what we spend and how we spend it here in Berkeley Heights. I'm looking at things from a way of generating non-property tax revenue. That is, how can the town develop more revenue without placing more burden through tax increases on the residents? So there's a couple of things that come to mind. The best asset we have for this is our water treatment plant, which is located as you cross the bridge over into Chatham from Berkeley Heights. And basically what you can do is that treatment plant has the capacity to develop methane, it exhales methane gas, which you can convert into electricity, which you can either sell back to the grid or use to power businesses in our downtown buildings, or actually in addition to, you could have what are called FOGs, fats, oils, and greases, which could be processed at the plant and again transformed into energy, electricity, and so on and so forth. Again, the capacity of the plant could also be used in terms of shared service agreements with the other neighboring towns to bring in their FOGs and other sorts of sewage and water waste and so forth, and be able to use that plant as a central place. We have the great potential to do that. I had the pleasure of meeting with Joanne Mancini, the director of the plant, together with Linda Weber, my running mate, a few months ago, and we talked about a lot of these issues in great detail, and I'd like to work on that if elected. Another issue that could be used is in regards to creating a sewer utility. Currently, the sewer costs are passed on to taxpayers as part of their general bill. But if you could base it on a usage fee, that is to say, those who use less water would not be penalized for it as part of the general average, then I think you could provide relief to our seniors and to those who are less well off in our town, who are struggling, particularly in these tough economic times, to make ends meet, and provide a more equitable solution for the sewer costs that get passed on to the residents. So those are two specific things that we can do with the water treatment plant, with the sewer utility, and there are other ideas that have been bandied about, which I would like to see, which I would like to look further into if elected. Obviously, there's a concept of shared services, how you can reach out to different towns. I'm fully supportive of those concepts in principle. I am fully supportive of our efforts in terms of the municipal court sharing and the concept of emergency response. And so these are things we have to look at if we're going to be sustainable as a town.
Great. Thank you very much. Shared service is obviously one that's getting a lot of discussion and some publicity. And is there anything that you want to add to what you've already said about that? You said you're in agreement in principle. Are there any caveats that you see right off the top that would concern you?
We have to be very careful in Berkeley Heights to make sure that what is done with these shared services, how will it particularly affect the taxpayer? My feeling is that you cannot consolidate for the sake of consolidation. You have to be careful to see what kind of impact it will have on the town. Is there truly a beneficial net plus impact for the residents, for our town government, to be more efficient, to provide more savings for the taxpayer? So you have to examine these things skeptically, with a careful eye, to make sure that what these services are indeed a true net plus for the town. So that's what I mean by you have to be cautious about looking into shared services. On principle, as I said, I'm fully for it, but you have to make sure that you're keeping, as a councilman, that you have to keep the interests of the taxpayers first.
Good, thank you. Well, let's bridge from your articulation of your view of the key issues into an opportunity for you to speak directly to the voters that are watching us here. And we hope that there are a lot of them that are watching us so that they can get the benefit of understanding your perspectives on the issues. And I'm going to just let you have a couple of minutes to speak directly to the voters. Tell them anything you'd like to about why you think when it gets to be election day, they should vote for Stephen Yellin.
Well, thank you, Bill. And my feeling is that as residents of Berkeley Heights, we have a tremendous potential in our hometown to make Berkeley Heights the leading economic, community-based, education-based town in Union County. I firmly believe that we as town residents can do better than where we are now as a community. I'm running for council because I love this town, and I want to give back to it as best I know how, which is through public service and through government expertise. I've been to many council meetings over the last few years. I've seen what works, I've seen what hasn't worked. And I have some good ideas, as I mentioned, with property taxes and with our shared services and with downtown to figure out what can be done to benefit our town. Regarding communication, I feel it's important that we have ethics training for our council members, just as the Board of Education does. I believe it's important to have a council who listens to your concerns, and that is my pledge. If you elect me on November 2nd, I'm in the lower left corner of the ballot in column A. I pledge to you that I will do my utmost to listen to your concerns and to have them implemented. My name is Stephen Yellin. I'm running for Township Council. I hope you will support me and my running mate Linda Weber on November 2nd so that we can together make a positive difference for the people of Berkeley Heights, who we serve and who matters most. Thank you.
Stephen, thank you very much for sharing some time with us today. And we do encourage the viewers, particularly those who are Berkeley Heights voters, to pay close attention to what the candidates are saying here on Hometown TV as we continue our series of Spotlight on the Candidates. This is Bill Bennett for Hometown TV saying thank you for your time today, and please join us for our next show.
Yellin.